mark in the count. The swing arm now coming back as our countdown continues.
Good afternoon to everybody who's on the West Coast with me and my co-host today, or good evening to you all on the East Coast. It's Brick Something with the news, the Needless Ephemera We Saw, and I'm joined today by N.E.W.S, Israel Ramirez, aka Iz. What's going on, man?
Not much. Don't forget to mention Adam Power, aka Adam Power,
aka Is
from the Adam Power channel.
Yes, and I actually want to ask you about that. And we can do that now.
Mm-hmm.
Adam Power, is that a reference to the character of the same name, and what's the connection?
It 100% is.
Okay.
I kind of started the YouTube channel sort of accidentally, in that the Power Lords line, right, which is where Adam Power comes from, was being made by the Four Horsemen, and I was the one who tracked down the heirs to the original line, which was no small feat. But Eric Treadaway is the sculptor for the Four Horsemen, and I'm a big Four Horsemen fan, and we had met at San Diego Comic-Con. And he asked me to track down the license for him. And so the trademark had expired, so I could have very easily just picked up the Power Lords trademark and, could have run with it like they did with Battle Beast when that trademark lapsed. But instead, they're like, no, find the original owners. We want to work with Wayne Barlow, who was the guy who did the original concept art for that really crazy line. And so Strong and Mayhem was the company that put out Power Lords for Revell way back in the day. And the way I was able to find the heirs was doing some detective work, like sleuthing through property records. And I was finally able to find a person who could put me in touch with everybody and put together the licensing agreement for the Four Horsemen. And so as part of that, I thought it would be fun to do a marketing stunt, I guess you could call it. Do you remember back in the day when the Aztec calendar was expiring and it was supposed to be the end of the world? Well, we created a calendar, a countdown.
The fifth sun sets. Yes.
Right, to that date, and announced that we would be announcing, a major development in the world, in the toy world, but we kind of kept it secret, so nobody knew who was doing it. And as part of that, I set up the Adam Power channel, and I set up the Adam Power, all of the marketing for that. I sent out cryptic emails to like content providers, people who did toy news and toy websites.
Sure.
And so then we counted down, and then we announced it. And ever since then, I started reviewing all of the product that Four Horsemen Toy Design put out. So they've had their individual IPs. They've had some licenses, like they did Outer Spacemen, they did Power Lords. And, I love everything that they were doing. So I would do reviews of those toys. And then they started with their own IPs, which were Seventh Kingdom. Zethius, and then after that it was Gothotropolis, and then they hit it really, really big with Mythic Legions. So I've been along for that whole ride.
Got it. That was great. That was a perfect encapsulation too of your history. And I'm so bummed I was trying to bring up visuals because I'm a visual person while you were talking, but here I'm catching up. First off, you mentioned the Barlow estate, or Barlow. No, sorry, Adam Power. Let's go back.
Okay.
You're talking about this Power Lords, and
Power Lords line.
I remember this as a kid, man. So these are not the originals, obviously. These are the Four Horsemen sculpts, but back in the day, I just remember.
You remember the original probably because you saw it in all those comic book advertisements, and the figure
I was alive.
It was a two-sided figure, right? You flipped it around. On one side was Lord Power, and on the other side was Adam Power, and he actually had two thumbs on each hand.
That's right. It was weird. And so it was Remco Toy, right?
Revell, the one that put out all those.
Revell. That's right. Yeah. The models.
Model kits, back
That's
in
right.
the day.
Yeah, no, this is a long time ago, kids. And but yeah, I remember that because it was just such a cool, striking visual of this, like, bright orange and the complementary blue. And it's funny because when I look over your shoulder there at Oleg Thaigar, like I totally, like, the second they showed the version of him with the sort of spacesuit with the orange, I was like, oh my God, this is great. Like, totally circling back to this aesthetic. But anyway,
it seems that way definitely with the colors. Although if you ask Eric Treadaway, he says that
I'm sure
Oleg Thaigar is not necessarily directly influenced by anything in Power Lords. He just, but I think it's part of his DNA because he grew up loving that line, and he got a chance to make it at 3 3/4. And so all of the retro sci-fi goodness from back in the day that he's channeled into Cosmic Legions in this Thaigar right here. So there's a lot of really good stuff and good influences that
absolutely. I think you said it right. Yeah. No, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say like, oh yeah, it was an intentional homage, and he would be the definitive person to speak on that. Authority. Absolutely. Thank you. But at the end of the day, you said it right in terms of, like, it's the same with me. Like, all of these things are burned in my brain, right? And whether it's through art or whatever it is, like, those influences come out. As a musician, it was the same thing. I can't help it. Like, all of these things are in my head and they come out. So especially this. So you said that you were tasked to hunt down who had it, and then they were like, nah, man, we're not just going to sort of like take the name, but let's find those folks who want to work specifically with Barlow. And this I remember also.
Do you remember that book, Wayne Barlow's Guide to Extra?
Yeah.
He
from back in the day.
Right.
And then it wasn't just artist. This one. It was several.
And he was just a kid when he designed Power Lords. But he put out these books, and he's still going strong as far as his art is concerned. And the cool thing about it is, once the Four Horsemen started doing that line, they said, let's bring in Wayne Barlow and let's give him a cut, And they worked with them, and he brought out a lot of his old sketchbooks and stuff. So they did a real deep dive, right? And that's the thing about the Horsemen. Nothing that they do is just a money grab or trying to capitalize on stuff. It's all comes from this deep abiding love for these properties, right? And so that even though this was a concept artist that worked on this line when he was a kid, right, and didn't own the IP, didn't own the property, didn't have any royalties, they're like, we want you to be part of this with us. So and they threw a big party in New York. Cake Boss came in, they made a giant Power Lords cake, and
that's right.
And so it was really a lot of fun to be part of that whole.
Wasn't that on a show? Like
it was on Cake Boss.
Oh, it was the Cake Boss show. That's right. Yeah,
I remember that.
TV. That's right.
Yeah.
I just want to say, and I've brought this up. I forget who I was speaking with when this Barlow book came up, but it's so fantastic. Like, if you're a fan of there's a fantasy version, but also of sci-fi. So he like goes through and sort of like tries to visualize what a lot of the aliens that we're familiar with through literature and then beyond.
Right.
So you see here, like, this is actually from Dune, his take on what a guild steersman is based on Herbert's writing, and it's really cool stuff. And you just flip through it. It's totally one of those things that gets in your brain. But I love, again, as you said, they love these IPs and they love art and artists, right? That they being artists themselves. So, Barlow was young, didn't really get paid properly necessarily or credited properly for a lot of his work. And so they're like, no, let's make this an opportunity to do some of that. And so love that about them, which I think speaks so much to the way they handle themselves. And I think a lot to their success. That said, we've jumped ahead of ourselves, friend. Let's go ahead and say hello to the folks in the chat. First off, there's this dude from the PGG who's been squatting here for a little bit and wanted to drop in his 5 purple hearts.
Hey, Jason.
We've got Dorlaxon. What's going on, man?
Oh, that's Jordan. That's not Jason. Jordan, right? I should know that. My name's Israel.
We've got Ray Paz. What's going on? That was great. Good call. I like that. We've got Ray Paz. So what's going on, man? Thanos Copter is here, speaking moistly. Solo Sinner, hello again. A lot of you were just picking back up from the highly articulated show earlier. Good to see everyone. Rick Jones, man, keep painting that dinosaur. We want to see it. Let's see. We got Steph also dropping some purple in there for us.
Hi, Steph.
We got Josh Brown. Let's go early. Yeah, this is now, by the way, the actual time that it's going to be moving forward. I wanted to get as close to, I don't know if you're familiar with Adam from Highly Articulated. He was at Legions Con last year, but he does a stream right before, and then I'm trying to jump on right after him, and a little early because there's so many things going on Sunday. And fun fact, this loser has to work at 6. Nick
Today?
Dillinger
On a Sunday?
Yeah, teacher life right now before finals. Nick Dillinger, good to see you. Thank you. That throwback MTV-esque intro. Joe Gonzalez is in the.
Hey, Joe. I know Joe.
Is in the zones. We've got the county. How's it going? Good to see you. Allison Troy, who I know knows the Barlow book, as does Rick Jones, apparently.
Yes.
Frankie Rivera, hello. Boom. See, there you go. The Wayne Barlow.
The Wayne Barlow, yeah.
And I will bring this up again later because you, sir, actually were very instrumental in introducing me to a lot of not just the Mythic Legions stuff, but the community in general. Learn about particular collectors and painters through you, and we'll definitely get there.
That's because I'm old, Joe. That's because I'm old.
I think we're seasoned, is what
That's
it is.
The advantage.
Designs for Avatar and Pacific Rim. So I didn't know that. So did Barlow actually design for Avatar?
Yeah, Wayne Barlow does. He does concept art for a lot of the big movies, and Guillermo del Toro loves him. I mean, everybody loves.
Nice.
Wayne Barlow. He's a legend.
We've got. I like this. I'll say hello to everyone else, but Orc says, I always find Eric's influences immediately. It's satisfying when seeing the body of his work, and how he evolves just leaves me speechless. I'm right there with you. I love that too. Let's see. We got Brian Brink. Hello. Great to see you, sir. JMax77, Santos Rivera, and Diggs Figs. What's going on? And Mark R. And I think I've caught up. Okay. Now, we've said hello to you. We've established a little bit of your background. That's awesome to hear. So I'm assuming you've got, I know actually, but for the audience, can you tell us about your sort of collection and your collecting habits?
Okay. Well, pretty much everything Four Horsemen. Mm-hmm. So that started. I didn't collect toys as a kid. I didn't have toys as a kid. We didn't celebrate Christmas. We didn't celebrate birthdays, and there were a lot of us. so it would have been kind of expensive. But so I had no nostalgic collection to toys. But when as I got older and I got married and my wife was pregnant, I started thinking about, you know, my sons and providing things for them
Ah,
that I didn't necessarily have, which includes a collection of pop culture and all of that. And I remember one of my nephews was playing with some knockoff GI Joes, and he's Chinese, and he didn't like the Asian GI Joe, and he was committing hate crimes against that GI Joe with the others.
yeah.
And I was just like, I that really just blew me away. And I'm like, what are you doing? Why are they treating this guy so terribly? And she's like, look, he's ugly. Look at him. He's
Oh,
I had to admit that he wasn't that cool. So I said, well, I'm gonna find the coolest Chinese and Mexican representations out there in toys.
yo, that's
So
what's up.
maybe my kids will be proud of their background. So my kids are half Chinese and half Mexican. So we followed the recipe for making Filipinos, right? So first, I started collecting, all the Mexicans I could find, which were mostly wrestlers, and then
Uh-huh.
Chinese actors and stuff. Uh,
hmm
and then I just started getting into toy collecting just from a purely aesthetic standpoint, appreciating the art and the sculpt and all the things that went into it. And I didn't know I was collecting Four Horsemen, but I was collecting Four Horsemen because I was collecting some of the
Right.
cooler McFarlane figures. And then just that appreciation grew. And then finally, what drew me in was when they did their original IP with Zephyus and the Animithians and the Seventh Kingdom. And that's when I went online and I found their forum and I became just a big fan of their company, their art. And
What
the entire,
year was that?
man, what year was it?
Oh man,
Well,
I
Mythic
did.
Legions has been around for at least 10 years.
Okay,
Okay, because they're
right.
celebrating and then we're talking about the 25th anniversary of Four Horsemen Studios.
Studio. hmm
So your math might be better than
Fair,
mine since
fair
you're a
enough. Fair
teacher,
enough.
right? So
I'm
what
not a math teacher, but sure.
late 90s.
Yeah.
um, yeah. So that long. And then even before that, even while they were at McFarlane and doing the stuff,
hmm
the Spawn things, you know.
Yep.
Then they
Yep.
left McFarlane, started their own company, and the rest is history.
Yes, it is. That's awesome. That's really awesome. And so let's go ahead then on that note. And no, let me just say that what you just sort of threw down about the lack of diversity in children's toys,
Right,
which is obviously changing and shifting and has been for
right,
a good amount of time, and we're seeing like really like tectonic qualitative shifts from when I was growing up, man, because that was me. I was collecting Star Wars and Joe's as a kid, and Joe's, believe it or not, were because of the creators and everything, and their intention behind the line, they tried their best to kind of work in all sorts of folks into the line, but
right.
that wasn't the larger culture, and it really wasn't played up. Definitely not. Maybe not enough, I will say, but I dealt with that kind of thing on the playground, a lot of like harassment and bullying as a kid.
Uh-huh.
And, those kids don't necessarily, it's not as if they knew what was going on. They were just part of the larger culture. It was one of those things where it's like, I remember being told that I couldn't be Han Solo or Luke Skywalker, but it was okay for me to pretend to play and be Chewbacca. But,
Okay.
anyways,
What about
fast
Lando?
forward.
Could you be Lando?
This was yeah, you know what? Empire would have been out by then, but I don't think we even got there. It was more like we were reenacting, I guess, A New Hope on them, those scenes in the Millennium Falcon. Anyway, so things have definitely shifted, and I'm really glad
Yeah.
to hear that your kids have that, and that's definitely something that I've tried to do. A lot of my toys are actually in my classroom, and
Hmm.
so given just my personal interest of seeing sort of like all sorts of different faces reflected, folks of color, women, beyond. It also reflects, you know, the kids in my classroom, and I want them to kind of see, yes, your teacher's a big old nerd, but check this out, you know, and kind of like letting them see all sorts of figures.
Yeah.
That said, Four Horsemen has I think been doing a really good job of that and continues to do that. Which now, hearing your background and having it here, totally makes sense why you ended up landing with them and have been helping out. So
Yeah, I'm always pushing for, Mexican, Aztec, Incan, and Mesoamerican representation in the line. And what I like about them is that if there's an opportunity to include diversity, they do it in a really, really thoughtful and sensitive way.
Yep.
Right? They made a figure of Ramirez, which was the figure that they named after me, and that was because I suggested that they make a Quetzalcoatl, and that was an important Mesoamerican deity. They've done Balaam, which is another important Mesoamerican deity, and I just can't wait to see what they come up with next. But they take influence from all the different cultures and people around them, and they really want to make what the fans want and what they appreciate. So
and they do a good job of sort of still working it in, of course, like it's not incredibly like, super. I think there's unfortunately like
the pandering. You're probably talking about pandering where you just kind of token characters or whatever. Yeah, they're not.
So
the cool thing is they're not about that, and they give you credit. Like if you have an idea that you bring to them, then they take it and they use it. They give you credit. Like in my case, naming the figure after me. So that was a really nice touch. And then their involvement with the community and just the way that they listen to the fans, right? It's different. It's different.
It is. And it's a lot. Yeah. That said, let's talk about that. That's a great segue. In terms of the community, you, friend, are working on something pretty big. And it's the second annual Mythic Meetup coming up next weekend. I will be there to hang out
Awesome.
next Saturday, next Sunday up in Sacramento.
Cool.
Yeah, so this is the second annual. Why don't you go? We've been talking about it here for the last couple of weeks. Trevor and I were talking a little bit about it last weekend, but definitely give us the definitive. What's going on next Saturday and next Sunday?
Well, it's just an opportunity for, Mythic Legions, Cosmic Legions, and Four Horsemen fan to get together. And this is sort of a replacement event. Originally, there was PowerCon here in California, down in Southern California, and the Four Horsemen would come out, and we'd get together, and we'd get an opportunity to buy Horseman products, at the best possible prices. And but PowerCon unfortunately moved to Ohio, so now we're trying to start this up so that the fans can get together, the community can get together, and we've got a bunch of boxes of Four Horsemen figures and products that I think people are going to be excited about and want to buy. It's basically a street team event, right?
Yeah.
So it's not a huge convention. We don't have like tons of celebrities, but we have like Nate Baertsch is going to be there.
You're going to be there, man. You're a celebrity.
Real celebrities. Owen Ortland, who used to work for Four Horsemen and works for McFarlane, is going to be there. People from the community like Walter Hagen, and just
celebrity status. I know it's funny to say that, but it's true actually. Like, for folks who like are unfamiliar, for you, like these are the folks you hang out with, and this is true. You're alluding earlier to the accessibility of the Horsemen, and I would say that's true of sort of the community, right? We have the Legions Cabal, but like folks are on there all the time talking with one another, getting to know one another. And so I know it's so weird to be like celebrity special guest. That's why I was laughing when you were talking to me about the whole thing about like Sacramento and like being a guest. And I was like, I mean, I want to go. I don't think it's a special guest status or anything. But at the end of the day, this is, to me, the real stars of this toy line is the community. Like, that's what I really love about the community that's built up around this particular branch of toy collecting, because and we'll see in today's show, and as we see in every show, it's like it's filled the whenever I'm talking about like toy customs or photography, it's hard to not see Legion stuff, right? People customizing Legions, people taking photos of their Legions. And so
all those
that's what this is.
all those incredible talents out there. Like
Yep.
Trevor, 1/6 shooter,
Yep.
right? So photographers, 3D sculptors, customizers, just all this talent that makes this line just more than the sum of its parts. It's like a
100%.
huge collaboration, like where they've created the sandbox. We're all allowed to play in it, and it's fun, and it's a good way to meet people and make friends, which isn't that easy when you get up in age, to find people that have similar interests.
Yep.
So that's what the Mythic Meetup is all about. It's just getting together and seeing if we can slowly, organically grow something here in Sacramento, so that people come out and just have a good time.
100%. And the reality is, like, there's Legions Con every year, and then the studio themselves are out at a bunch of different conventions and are able to kind of like to travel on the eastern seaboard and a little further south, right, and inland, but getting out here is hard. So I'm imagining these are sitting somewhere here in California, at an undisclosed location.
Those boxes are in Sacramento under heavy guard.
Gotcha. So it's like, they have to ship all this stuff, which isn't cheap, if they were to do sort of these West Coast appearances. Hence the street team, hence you, and who else sort of helping you with this effort?
Local people. John Castellone is he's the one that's handling the shipping and the boxes and all that kind of stuff.
Gotcha.
He's a customizer here in Sacramento. We have James Byrne, who's the owner of Geekology, and that's the local retailer that sells Mythic Legions here in the Sacramento area. And we have Andrew Leong, who's the owner of ToyFusion, who has graciously allowed us last year and this year to use his space and sort of he has toy shows like once a month, and sort of allowed us to meet up there. And so, and he knows everybody, anybody is anybody in the toy community. So a lot of people will come to this that don't know anything about Four Horsemen or Mythic Legions, and then they'll get these figures in hand, and then they'll be hooked, and they'll be one of us, right? So that's kind of the plan, not to get just the hardcore collectors in, but also to introduce this character and these lines to people who have never had an opportunity to see them.
Perfect. So let's go ahead and just talk a little bit about, again, this is next
Andrew.
Saturday,
There's
next
Andrew.
Sunday. Yep. So next
up.
Saturday, next Sunday is the event. The 4th proper will be, like, I'm assuming, like the main meetup, but then on Sunday, as you pointed out, at the venue, at ToyFusion, which is a great store that I actually was just at a couple weeks ago with a couple of folks who were like fellow YouTube folks who were kind of in town. It was like, hey, let's go up to Sacramento and let's go check out the store. So we headed out to ToyFusion. People bought stuff. And I think people bought some vintage Action Force and a couple of other things. But this is Andrew, who owns the shop. He was featured on a toy store near you back in season 3, and you can see that on their channel at toyfusion.com. Cool stuff, lots of great vintage stuff. And even if you're just, sort of checking it out to kind of like walk around, and it's so fun to just kind of like see all those things. But as you pointed out, they have they also do is it a monthly or every other week kind of swap?
It's pretty much monthly, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the next day on May 5th, folks will still be around from the Mythic Meetup, but then there will also be this broader toy show and swap meet there. So if you want to come and just check out other toys beyond the Legions stuff and the Four Horsemen stuff, there'll be plenty to be had. And so it's fun. I went last year. That was the first one. And you walk in, it's kind of like a shopping center. And it was to say like DNA testing or something. Like it's an old storefront for the actual event space.
There's two spaces. There's the
Yeah.
actual store proper, and then there's
Yes.
this other space that he uses for special events. That's just in the same complex, so you could walk across the parking lot and get to that.
And it still has like the old signage up. It says something like whatever DNA testing.
There is a DNA testing place and drug testing place.
Oh,
nearby.
So that's actually functional still in there.
Yeah.
Oh, my bad. I thought that was okay. Anyways, we were just there, and they were doing like an estate sale, so they have regular events there. I'm assuming that's where the Mythic Meetup proper will be.
Right. Can I stop for 1 second? I'll
be
right back.
For sure. And I'll talk through. I'll explain stuff to folks. So yeah, folks, it's a great place. You can check it out. The show's great. Lots of great inventory. Just wanted to show you that. And in addition, so that's that. They will have Four Horsemen stuff on sale at convention prices, and I'll let him break those down in a little bit. But that's the big deal. It's like we don't know what's in these boxes, what old figs, current figs, etc. will be in here. And I remember last year, just sort of walking in, seeing what pops up on the table is really cool. Last year, got to meet Walter, got to meet Nate Baertsch. Is Nate going to be there this year? I believe that's what I heard last week.
Nate's going to be here.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Nate will be there again. Come hang out, meet him. Who else was there? Eric LeBron was there last year. Do you know who all is coming back this year, or who all is going to be in attendance other than the folks you already named?
Eric's not going to be able to make it this year.
Okay.
But there's some newer people.
Okay.
Coming. The reason I had to step out was because I was watching the Clippers versus the Mavericks.
Fair enough.
And I paused that, and then it started up, and then
I didn't want it to spoil.
I could hear the volume. Yeah, I didn't want any spoilers.
Fair enough. So I was just sort of saying that we don't know what's going to be in these boxes. The stuff's going to be on sale. What are the prices again? Because they're convention prices, right? Right,
they're convention prices. So they're basically like direct from Four Horsemen prices. So, that's the cheapest you're gonna get, basically. And then obviously the price depends on the item, but those are set by the Four Horsemen, and the Four Horsemen also decide. Hey, my wife's here. Come say hello.
Hello. And can you let us know, just to give people a sense of how much those figures will be, so that they can kind of plan accordingly? And there's a hand. I see a hand. Hello. I see hair. I see the top of eyes. Hi, nice to meet you.
Bring lots of cash.
Yeah, that's what I learned last year. I showed up there, and then I had to run to a bank to grab cash. And
right. You don't want to be running off to an ATM. Okay, that's enough of that. Yeah, so they're the same prices that you get at any convention for a figure. So,
but for those of us in the West,
37, like 37 for a figure. And then there's Legion builders, which are a little bit less because they don't have as many paint applications. But then you have like bigger figures like the horses, who are a bit more. I don't have a price list in front of me, so I don't want to. I don't want to misquote the prices. But in general, if you want to figure, $40, you should be able to get a figure. For a little less than that. And
if I'll just say that if you're not into Legions and you're not familiar and you're just sort of curious and you're starting out, I just want to stress what is said, is that this is really the cheapest that you'll be able to find these figures at, these brand new figures at, because that's
no
how they
shipping.
do.
You don't have to worry about having them shipped to you from across the country. So that automatically, sweetens the deal, right?
Yep.
And hopefully, I mean, hopefully we'll sell out, right?
And on top of that, I'll just say, you know, last year they had some shirts, they had some coloring books on hand. They've had
Right.
and a bunch of other customizers were there. Like I said, Eric was there last year. I don't know who's going to be there this year, but folks had full customs on hand. David Williams was there bringing painted heads.
Yeah.
And
Uh,
you know, and unpainted heads as well, and so there's a bunch of stuff. So
now,
plan
now,
accordingly.
David Williams is going to be at a wedding in Vegas.
Okay,
So
so it
he's
won't be
not
there
going to
this
be
year.
able to make it, but
Yep.
he gave us some signed prints that are just absolutely incredible that he's done of his art of Mythic Legions characters. So those are going to be available there. Of
Awesome.
course, Nate's going to have his prints available for purchase as well. And if you're not familiar with Nate's art, I mean, he's done a lot of stuff for Masters of the Universe.
Yep.
And he's basically the in-house artist, and he does all the incredible packaging artwork for the Four Horsemen for all of their
Yep.
lines. So, you know, kind of like Rudy Obrero, right? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
David Williams' art is amazing because he's a tattooist, but he's like a proper, just incredible. I
Oh, he's
love
got illustration skills for sure.
his pen and ink skills.
I'm
Are
looking
just
around. I'm trying to.
amazing. Huh?
I was trying to remember where I put my stuff, but it's
Did
not
you
on
get
hand.
Did you get a print from?
Yeah, of course. I got some David Williams prints. I got some Nate prints, and then got a couple of pieces and figures. So I had a great time last May. Definitely can't recommend it more. So go. And I'll be there, and we'll meet each other, and we'll hang out, because that was you and I got to meet that day, and just that was great. Just walking in, just saying hello. Unfortunately, Joe was there. We didn't know each other then, and he was telling me that I was standing right behind you, but we didn't know each other, and both of us were silly boys and didn't say hello. So anyway, so I would suggest if you go, meet people, say hello. It's really cool to know who's here on the West Coast, because unfortunately, you know, a lot of us. It is a little bit harder for us to get out to the East, but I will say this year I am going to Legions Con, so I'm excited about that. It'll be my first and intern for a day. I've said that a couple times here on the stream. I'm just ridiculously excited about it, so not intending to rub it in with folks.
Well, it's going to be amazing. I've been to every, you know, Legions Con. I've been to, you know, all the G Cons. I participated in the online stuff.
Yep.
Yeah. And then I've also done, I'm a perpetual intern for the day attendee.
Nice.
Just to get to watch people who get to see it for the first time. And just to see the looks on their faces, right? As they tour what is basically like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory.
Exactly.
And you get to see all this amazing stuff. And every year I like to wait there and wait for Emil Wickman to come from Sweden and get you know, take a picture of him as he takes a look at the new reveals, and just see how blown away he is, and just the emotion on his face. I try to capture that and then meme it, you know, put it up as a meme. So it's really amazing, and to see that, and it reinvigorates like the whole studio. They look forward to this all year long as well, because of the energy, the enthusiasm, the love that the fans bring to it. You know, just seeing people react to your work. I mean, you turn the corner and there's a giant, you know, sculpted orc, or you know, ogre, or there's a giant alien, right?
Guy next
when
to
you get to see them putting this stuff together behind the scenes, it's just an amazing thing. Of course, you have to win the lottery to get a chance to get there.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Like, it's funny you said Willy Wonka. I totally, when I got that email, I was like, "Oh my god, I'm totally Charlie. I got the golden ticket."
The golden ticket, totally.
Yeah, and unfortunately, sorry, Josh. Apologies. Yeah, I love it. He's taken. Joking. I know. I can't help it, man. I apologize for everything. But yes, I know you don't take it as a personal affront. All right.
You know, part of the fun is making other people jealous too, right? So come on.
All right, let's go back to Mythic Meetup, because there's some other stuff that I know that you've shared will be there. So Jay's Armory will be there. And why is he getting a special call out here?
Well, because we big enough to have like an exclusive figure or like an exclusive 2-pack or like Legions Con, right? There's not going to be thousands and thousands of people there, and you have to. It takes a year in advance or more to plan out an exclusive. But what we can do is utilize the printing skills of Jay's Armory, and print out some sort of exclusive things. And one of the things we're working on from him is a design of a weapon from Emil Wickman. So he drew this up. And Jason Rodriguez in Mexico sculpted it, and then Jay's Armory has that's one of his Emil's original sketches. Emil's an amazing artist, right?
Yeah,
and
he is.
a wonderful person, and so we're getting these printed up for people so they could have something that they really can't get any place else here. So it's
That's
sort of an
awesome.
exclusive of sorts, and I think there's going to be different like translucent ones, just some special surprises that Jay's Armory is putting together, and it's a very elegant weapon. So we're showing this kind of as a sneak peek, but there might be some other things that people see there, little surprises and stuff.
I love that. So
yeah,
hopefully that's well teased. People, you should show up. I don't have the links up yet, so Thanos isn't dropping every one of these, but these pictures will be available. You'll notice at the bottom scrolling along there that's still true for this episode, just like it is for the other episodes. You could use the QR code and follow along if you're watching this on the replay. And Thanos can drop things in while we're chatting, and I'll try and do the ones that he doesn't have. So anyway, that it's not a exclusive of sorts by definition. It is truly an exclusive, man. This is really cool. So designed by Emil Wickman, printed by Jay's Armory, who is local to Sac, and I know you've done videos with him, right? Because he attends that. Is that right?
I've attended events with him and taken pictures of some of his work. And so the cool thing about the sword is that Emil also wrote a story that goes along with it. It's a a weapon for wizards, and then we have a character that we have that goes around collecting these enchanted weapons.
Yeah, so and I don't know why it's not showing up, but let me go ahead and bring it up right now. It's supposed to. Let's see if this works. Oh yeah, it's gonna of course show all of our stuff. But hey, hopefully it doesn't have too many
secret.
Yeah, too many secrets. Oh, here, that's the one with your phone interface.
Yeah, that's
not it.
That's Chantara.
Okay, Chantara.
Yeah, or Tara Chan, and that was drawn by Nate Baertsch, and
nice.
So kind of a likeness of my wife, so it's kind of an homage to my wife. And
love it.
So
we got to see a little bit earlier.
We got to see a little bit, yeah. But yeah, Chantara is a librarian with a dual identity, who has a dimensional portal and is able to go around Mythos and Cosmos collecting, enchanted and special weapons. And so we've gotten, we've got that battle scythe there has been is one of the weapons, Emil's sword, and we've got some other weapons in store, so we can print out and we'll see if people like the idea, right, of collecting these little weapons.
Yeah, no, I think that's really, really cool. And
and you can see Nate Baertsch's beautiful art, right? Look at that.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's great to sort of see. You really again, you're kind of downplaying it a little bit, I think, but it's an exclusive weapon from this character that has been rendered by Nate Baertsch, and
designed by Emil Wickman. The character's drawn by Nate Baertsch. The weapons designed by Emil Wickman. Yeah, and
perfect.
Then it was sculpted up by Jason Rodriguez. So it's a collaboration. Sweden, Mexico, and the U.S.
I love it, man. That
It's
is
worldwide. It's a
really awesome.
worldwide fandom. One
Yeah.
of the other
And Rick
special
Jones
things.
loves weapons. So go, Rick, go next weekend. Let's meet each other in real life if you can make it. Okay. That is awesome. Let's shift gears a little bit to
Okay.
Legions in general.
Hmm.
So this week has been the Mysteries of Mythos sale. Actually, was that? Yeah, that started last Monday. And it's been fun to kind of watch, see people get their stuff. It's still going on. Their figure's still available, so you can go log on to Store Horsemen and hit shop now, and you can order these, right? A blind box. So
Yeah.
if you haven't been following, it's 2 figures for $75 plus a great shipping cost. What is it?
$9.99 flat
Okay,
shipping
$10 in the
per order.
US. Yep.
Yeah.
And that's, you can order a bunch of figures. Actually, there's no limit, right? Because I'm
Nope.
hearing people, yep, because people
Well,
are
I
buying.
guess the
I've
limit
heard of
is
people paying like $1,300 on just
on.
to these things.
I think people are spending thousands because if you think
Yes,
about it, this is the perfect time to be a new collector. You can get
exactly.
all of these figures
Yep,
at the bargain basement, Four Horsemen figure prices, right?
mm-hmm.
2 figures for $75. A lot of these had been selling on the third party or the secondary market
Yep,
at eBay for hundreds of dollars. So you can almost in one fell swoop pick up a lot of these older figures and fill out your
yep.
collection. Now, if you already
Oops.
have all these figures, it's always fun to kind of build your legions. Mystery boxes are always fun,
Mm-hmm.
but if you're a new collector, there's never been like a better sale or a better opportunity. And they've bent over backwards to do their best to like eliminate duplicates as much as possible, right? So you don't know exactly what you're getting, but you know you're getting some really, really cool figures.
Yep.
So
So the
it,
idea is you'll get 2 figures, right? One of them will be a quote unquote newer figure, and that's the one sort of shown here.
yeah,
They pick this out, and I love the way they if you only order 2, those are on the top, and then you take that out and you sort of see what the more rare figures are, the chase figures. So these ones, for example, they I just learned from Trevor last week, and I didn't realize, hadn't been paying close attention,
mhm,
that they actually went and reissued a bunch of these
yeah,
figures in particular,
yeah,
as well as some others that they had in the that are seen here, the rest of which are shown here, that have been sitting in the factory. So it's funny, we're talking about the Mythic Meetup, right? And all the folks where that are able to go to shows where the studio travels to have the opportunity sometimes to pick up some of these things that have been in the warehouse that kind of get thrown out throughout the day. They're real good about,
right,
not throwing them all at the same time. And I bring that up because it's actually not that different in terms of that experience for those of us who aren't able to make it to those shows, because you never know. Actually, sure, you can get to the table, see what's there, and choose the ones that you
right.
want, but generally speaking, you don't know what's going to come out at any given time during the day, during
Right.
a convention. So this is great.
And the
So
other
I've
cool thing is people, if you get a mystery box and you want to trade, bring it to the
yes,
Mythic Meetup, and other people will be bringing their figures.
yep,
And then, everybody has their favorite. Some people are really into the goblins. Some people love the barbarians. Some people love the skeletons.
yep,
And the fun thing is that you can trade with people and sort of develop a relationship, develop friendship, and it's
hmm,
fun. It's like back in the playground, right? When you had your pogs or whatever it was that was hot at the moment, where you're trading with friends and you're sort of building your collection. So I am completely jealous of new collectors that are just coming into the line, and
yep,
at the perfect time. This is a perfect opportunity, because that's what I would have done. I would just, if I was a new collector, I would just buy just a ton, and with
yep,
the shipping, have it come to your door in the continental U.S. for $10. I mean, you can't beat that. So I hope people really take advantage of this. I think it's a real win-win
me too.
especially for new collectors.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wish this is one that, like, in a perfect world would be in
Grisha,
my, but yeah.
do you not have
But
that one in your collection?
I do not. I do
Oh,
not. But
it's one of my favorites for
yeah,
sure.
it's a great one. And so just to kind of exactly what you're talking about, Josh was saying that he pulled a Faunus and a Zarya for chases, and
Nice.
then on the
Nice.
heels of that, Steph is like, "Hey, you want to trade?" So like this is kind of how that all works. And so on that note, there's a lot of good coverage. So
Right.
a little over a week ago on their channel, on the Four Horsemen channel, they kind of broke down when they revealed what it was, which explains all of this if you're curious.
Right.
And then Dorclair had a great video, kind of like, just offering his tips for trading, selling, which I think is really good, especially for new folks who might not be familiar with the community and sort of trading in the cabal, etc. Some good stuff there.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to quickly share this. It's okay, Thanos, I was doing this for you because it's kind of easy. But just, showing like, hey, truck pulls up, a postal service truck pulls up to the studio. We load it up, fill it up, and they're on their way. So people have been getting them.
Wow.
And I'm assuming we will be getting more and more of this kind of thing that I'm about to show you. But just today, Kevin Hamilton, who I wasn't familiar with, I just did a search because I am kind of wanting to see people
Right.
unbox there. So he
Right.
did this awesome video of him sort of unboxing things and has sort of
That's
his daughter
Kevin
going
Hamilton is
through
a
it.
little girl.
No, I'm assuming Kevin Hamilton is the dad behind the camera,
Oh, okay.
and he he hired a little girl to open it up for him. No, it's really cute. She has like a cash register and scans each one and
Oh,
announces each
that's
one.
adorable.
And it is fun just to sort of see what gets pulled. Last night, friend of the channel, Kenzo, on Kenzo's Custom on Instagram,
Right.
showed his thing, and it's been super fun in that way. So I hope
It's
people will find the fun despite some of the grumblings from some
well,
folks.
it's people. There are people out there who are negative and will find a
Sure.
reason to complain about anything,
Sure.
no matter what. Right.
Yep.
But to me, this is a no-brainer. That takes me back to, when I was just 10 years ago, 15 years ago, when I was doing when I was doing reviews with my kid.
Mhm.
That was always a lot of fun to involve him in the reviews and stuff.
Yep.
But he's in college now, so he's
Yeah, I remember watching some where you're like saying you're teaching him how to sell figures and make some money. I loved it, man. Okay, let's shift gears a little bit.
Okay.
As folks know, I have been helping Spiro Toys with their Animal Warriors of the Kingdom Kickstarter, and just I do my show with Adam, called the other Adam, called AWOC Talk and Monkey Business. Just wanted to let folks know that just posted an update today on the Kickstarter. Our goal was to get the backer kit up by this Wednesday, which would have been 2 weeks from when the campaign closed. And so we hit that goal, at least on our end. So, and as you'll see from the update, there's some sculpts revealed that haven't been revealed yet. That's kind of what's happening right now. The creative team has to like sculpt all those things and get them ready.
Wait, scroll up, go slower.
Yeah, that's me kind of teasing that you all can go check out the updates. And I will highly recommend that if you are a backer or you just kind of want to know what's going on, we're really trying to centralize the updates there because, they can be on Facebook, they can get on IG, but it's a tiny team. So we try and respond to folks' concerns, questions, or whatever as much as possible. And when they're all over the place, we can't. So check them out here, comment here, and we will get back to you. Either myself, Jason, or Adam. But yes, you see what's going on. I love it, man. I love this kind of work in progress stuff. In addition, we just let people know that what I just sort of hinted at, that it has been submitted. Adam, highly articulated, Adam Drake, has been working a lot on getting the backer kit done. And the backer kit's really complicated because, as folks know who follow the campaign, there are a lot of rewards, a lot of packages, etc. But his brain figured it out. He wrapped his brain around it, and it was submitted to the Backer Kit folks, the company that is Backer Kit, and they're reviewing it, and we're hoping it'll be ready to go by Wednesday. Either way, the last part of the update is that this Wednesday on Adam's channel, and you'll see the link to that here, we're going live once again to kind of like reconvene the tribe, talk about what's going on. And so there's that. That's a real fast news tidbit. But there's so much to do and talk about, so we'll move on. Let's talk about like real newsy toy nerdy stuff. Dragons confirmed it's official, but not necessarily from
Creative Beast Studios. Dragon confirmed.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
By
for
Creative
quite a while.
Beast. Yes, and this is one that, in fact, this was the only thing that I ended up backing from Cyberzoic. I wish I could have backed more, but I ended up landing on their Arctic Dragon, and this is a test shot of that dragon, and I'm just enjoying. And they also have the Smilodon.
It looks amazing, yeah.
Yeah, man, all of the posability on that tail, just so the design, and of course the paints of that paint master that they've been touring around for a little bit now just look amazing. So super excited for that.
Nice.
And also love the old school nature of this little piece. Creative Beast Studio shared this week. Was it this week? Yeah. Of a new dragon. Oh, what's it called again? It is the Bristle Dragon, but this is all hand sculpted in clay.
I don't think I've seen that before. Is that new?
This is brand new, hand sculpted in clay. They showed it on their stream earlier in the week, and then they posted on Instagram. Wow. Love it, man. It reminded me, so there's reminder to folks, these are smaller figures than your Legions. These are like closer to 4 inches. But still at that size, this is going to look great on my shelf with my more 6.5, 6, 7 inch figures. So
that's a 3 3/4 figure right there, standing next to it, right? Yeah.
Yep. So you can kind of see it's going to have all the beautiful detail. If you're familiar with Beasts of the Mesozoic, their dinosaur line, the paints on these are just outstanding. Like,
do you
the
know
level
who
of detail.
Sculpted that?
I believe this, I don't off the top. Let's see. I don't even know if it says,
hand sculpted.
Yeah. It just says hand sculpted, but I'm assuming it was David, but maybe not. Anyway, it's gorgeous. Check out the link that Thanos has dropped in. If you're watching live or if you're in the replay, definitely use that URL at the bottom of the screen. Did you go in for any of the Cyberzoics at all? Or?
You know, the only Cyberzoic that I've purchased so far is a tiny little raptor. That's the Quetzalcoatl colors, and I put that with my Ramirez figure as like his little animal familiar.
Beautiful.
And I thought I almost went in on the Smilodon and some of the other figures, but because they're small. They're a smaller scale. I did draw the line and say, well, you know, I'm not going to 3 3/4 into collecting that at this point.
That's exactly where that was the same thought process I had. I had a lot more in my pledge, and then before the campaign ended, it shifted. I was like, I'll land on the dragon because it's larger, and you know, dragons can be whatever size I want them to be.
Right.
So. They're beautiful stuff, though, and I'm really excited to see this and the continuation of them just like adding more and more to this new line in Cyberzoic. So, okay. So I know you said you didn't have toys as a kid, but did you were you like watching cartoons and stuff? And with
I didn't have a TV either, so no, unfortunately not.
That's why you're so intelligent, but. So Thundercats, I'm assuming you've heard about this and you're familiar with it after the fact, or maybe not.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the fun things about toy collecting is that I can go back and find out about all these pop culture, you know, properties that I knew nothing about when I was a kid. So,
yeah. So, well, Mondo announced this week, or finally sort of like let folks know publicly that they're now doing, they have a Thundercats license to do 1/6 similar to their Masters of the Universe 1/6 figures. And they've shown the concept art. This is coming by way of Thundercats Classic. What's up, Jorge? But you see the concept art here for their Lion-O and Snarf, because Snarf will be packed in. I love what Mono has done with Masters of the Universe, because they definitely embrace what the characters are from sort of that nostalgic classic view, but then love to work in their own sort of like spin on it. So some of the armor design here is new to the character. He's not just wearing that sort of like leotard or whatever that you'd call unitard. I don't know, that he was wearing before. And actually for the first time ever, which excites me because I've always had this little bit of critique of Thundercats as I've grown up and then gone back to it,
right,
is that they're not furry. Like they just basically look like painted people. They remind me of the Broadway cats, but not even as cats-like as that. So Mondo's gone in and has designed in some fur, and then given him armor, right, rather than just the sort of like
the unitard.
Yeah, that was the right word. Okay, cool. Let's get physical kind of vibe going on.
80s,
and you can also
man.
see, yeah, totally. There's even 80s hair here. But so this is just a concept art. Here's the sculpt. And you can kind of see what I'm talking about in terms of the fur, a little bit more,
cool,
true to the Thundercats, I think, name. And I couldn't help it, man. So, like I love that they're getting, what's going on here? Armor, right?
Yeah.
Kind of like, I can't help it. Animal Warriors of the Kingdom, but the armor's there. So these are going to go, like, if they could, these are going to be 1/6 again, folks. So these are like 12-inch toys, a little bit larger actually. But
Ewok on steroids.
If they ever get to make these designs smaller so that they fit with my Ewok and my Legions, man, I'd be all over it. But see, I love it. He's got fur.
We've got the Thundercats classics, right? From Super 7 and from Mattel. And, I've got a bunch of those.
Yep. I do too. I've got a couple, but again, they really skew towards the classic cartoon designs as well as, and then they did LJN ones, which are cool. Like I love them. And that's the nostalgic part of my brain. Awesome. But then there's that part where like in my head as a kid, they looked a certain way. And it's like, that's what I love about Mondo. They really kind of pull that out. They did that for Masters of the Universe for me. Yeah. And so, yeah, I agree. We need these in 112. So I love it. So I think that's really cool. Definitely check out this live stream. Shout out to Mega J and Jorge, who did a breakdown day of, and Jorge even sort of shares his concept, his own personal concept art. This is not anything Mondo did, but check that out. Shout out their friends, their homies, but super talented people.
Is that like a gnome wearing a sombrero? Because if it is, then I'm gonna have to get...
From the cartoon. Yeah. It's a call out from a disguise from the cartoon. But again, this is not officially made. This is just Jorge kind of like showing his stuff, but who knows? But if he were working for them, like this is his idea of what a figure could be and what you'd pack in. So
if you put a sombrero on a figure, I'll automatically buy it. Doesn't matter what it is.
Note that, toy makers. If you want an instant customer, there you go. Yeah. All right. Let's go ahead and move on. We've got Ramen Toy. Yeah. Not exactly a sombrero, but there's a poncho. So this is Ramen Toys. Yeah. Are you familiar with Ramen Toy?
That's a Brave Star, right?
Yes. So
this like a knockoff Brave Star?
It is. It's a third-party knockoff. Brave Star. Ramen Toy often does that. Actually, let me think. Mostly does that, with the exception of I think their Silverhawks, which sort of ended up being licensed through Super 7.
So this is a completely unlicensed. Okay.
It is. So, yes. And I know
they're brave.
They're brave. Brave Star for sure. And so his idea, and he's done quite a few of these kinds of things. He did it with their non-mask Machina line. And it's what Ramen Toy does. I'm looking forward to this figure in particular. It's definitely one of those properties that doesn't seem to have any movement or, just hasn't been getting any action from the people who currently hold the license.
Who holds the license? Is it N.E.W.S now? Because they've been trying to buy up all the retro licenses.
I don't think it's N.E.W.S, and I don't know who currently has it. But it was an old Filmation cartoon, the originally done by Mattel, I want to say. But it's a great looking figure. It's one that I pre-ordered way back in the last PowerCon and sort of waiting on. He just posted these, which are essentially like, production figures. So these should be coming kind of soon. And he's big. He's closer to like the 110 scale figure. So looking forward to this.
I'm going to get one of those and put a sombrero on it.
Yes, and to be clear,
into a Mexican knockoff.
So to be clear, it's not Bravestar, it's the Marshal, totally unrelated character. It's like Japanese super lizard is not Godzilla. Yes, thank you, Allison, for breaking it down.
I don't know how I could have possibly been confused.
And apparently Bravestar is owned by Universal. Mattel owns a trademark to make toys called Bravestar, but Mattel does not own the copyright to Bravestar. Thank you, Allison Troy.
Wow, you have a very, very informed audience.
Oh, Allison's all about it, man. And so, yeah, it's just dope. Speaking to connecting it to what you were saying earlier, this is one of the first like characters that I was aware of that was indigenous. He's meant to be like a Plains native. They never actually, I don't know that if they ever named him, they might have. So I'm excited to see this, and I love on that note, sort of the way they went with the sculpt.
Can you zoom in a little bit on that?
This is the best I can do with this. It's totally a maximum. Yeah.
All right.
Oh, there you go.
There you go. Yeah. No, it looks good. Looks good.
Yep. You can tell the research was there on the part of the designers and the sculptors. I dig it. Here he is, sort of all posed up.
Yeah. Kind of looks like my dad, actually.
Well, there you go. All right. Next up, Savage Crucible. So Savage Crucible figures are now arriving at least for promotional purposes. So a bunch of people over the last couple of days have been dropping their Savage Crucible reviews, including Jared over at Toy Bro. Here sharing one of his figures. So they're all over. There's a ton of them. I have a bunch of links. So I would just go to the URL there shortly after the show because there's a ton of them. But so there you go. This is, that's all I really wanted to say about it. But I love these figures. I've got a couple on pre-order with Savage Crucible. Something you were following is?
This is news to me.
Oh,
this really is toy news. No, I mean, no. I know that Nikki Nicole Cheney did some paint work on some of those, and it's been a long time, so I don't remember if I ordered or what I ordered. But when you get older, sometimes boxes just show up on your porch that you.
I'm very familiar with this.
So there's that phenomenon. So I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I will be surprised, but I wouldn't be surprised if something showed up that I ordered a while back.
Yep. So
and completely forgot about.
Other folks have been getting them. I'm just going to sort of show that as we're going through. So great. You can look, sounds like past might have maybe rewarded future or present is, and you'll get something.
That'll be nice.
Let's go back to Emil, who came up earlier, who has a connection to Mythic Meetup. He posted this week, and man, like in Ratatouille, when that guy eats the reviewer eats the ratatouille, and then he goes back into his brain to his childhood. This took me right back to sitting watching on Select TV and way back in the 80s and seeing some of my very first not quite my first, but some of my very first anime. So this was originally Star Zingers in Japan, and it was Space Cateers here in the United States. And it was brought here and localized as part of the sort of Force 5, along with Grandizer and a couple of other properties. But Emil posted this and was just like, I guess he'd just gotten his hands on these toys that have been up for sale for a while. They're not cheap toys by any means. They've got like die-cast ships and parts. But man, these are so close to capturing what we saw on screens as kids. Was this at all on your radar?
I love those cheesy paint schemes.
Right?
But no, drawing a
yeah, I know.
Trying to complete.
And you've shared you didn't have TV, so I assumed as much. But I love that Emil
Is that
kind
a
of
chunk?
gushes.
Is that a chunky robot there on the right hand side, or
they're all humans in armor? So that's
Okay.
a chunky dude in armor that seems to have been like form fitted for him. So there's like three guys.
Yeah, I like collecting chunky dudes.
Yeah, like the variety again. And this was coming out of Japan. They very much did that a lot with. They had a lot of variety on their teams, right? And so what you'll note, I don't know if you notice, he's got a staff. And if you look at right up there, his little sort of, there's a crown that might feel familiar. So
from this is Monkey King?
Yep. So this was actually one of the many retellings of Journey.
Monkey King.
Yep. Of Journey to the West.
So you know what else this also reminds me of? It reminds me of those rides that you stick a quarter in. You sit the little kid in front of the grocery store, and it bounces around. Doesn't that remind you of that?
Totally. It's that same size. And this is actually roughly the sizes in the show. So there were tiny little ships. This guy, the blue guy, was the ocean dude. The green dude was a rock dude, and the Monkey King was kind of like the main one that you followed. That is
the Monkey King with the Monkey King staff and the little.
It's meant to be an analog of the Monkey King. His staff grew, and his crown would cinch his head, if I remember, the whole nine.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, there's some, totally took me back. There are some cool reviews that are available out there of these toys. I'm just really happy to see that, one, other people knew about it when Emil posted this. Two, and then I sort of dug in to kind of see the reviews and stuff. And there are reviews out there, mostly from overseas, from Asia. And so this is one of those, and you can kind of see them. They're not cheap. They're like a couple $100. Yeah, they're a couple $100.
And the chunky guy has like a rotary dial phone dial on his stomach.
Things shoot out of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's his shield. He could attach his shield to his belly, and
call his mom,
as one does. Here you go.
Can you click on that one? $200, right? With the ship and everything. Up.
Yep.
See, there it is.
I had the old, it was an Italian toy company. I forget what it was. I had an old version of these as a kid. I remember them going on sale at the store called Carl's Toys in Lakewood, California, back in the day.
So you're older than you look.
1976, baby.
You're a young man still.
47 years old. Thank you. I'm glad to hear that that's true in some cases.
I'm jealous. Yeah.
So anyway, that is that. So
he's got his shield that attaches to his navel. That's how it works.
There. Yep. Okay. Don't think about it is all right. So so here's a little trip. So this stuff that I'm about to show you, the whole indie toy game, man, it's a trip what's coming out. So apparently they're called Haxen House, is developing this line of toys that's very much like occult horror type stuff. And a lot of it reminds me of two things. So Chris from Four Horsemen has his D13 line, and they do demons, and they're drawn from, like old paintings, right? A lot of these illustrations remind me of those old paintings, right? Obviously not in the bright colors that Chris has been doing lately. I know those won't be the finals, but they remind me of that. And this person's this group of folks are doing toys very much on like these old, like demonology type things.
Freaking terrifying.
It is very terrifying. And
This,
so it's funny. I was raised Catholic, so part of me
yeah.
still is like, "Yee!" but still, it's like amazing to think that in 2024, like all these different toy companies are just popping up, right? Likely folks who were like fans of toys as a kid now
Th-
have the ability to create their own toys and toy
This
lines.
is making me want to go back to church out of sheer
Okay.
fear.
It's amazing how they got in
I
our.
do not want to go to hell and meet these guys. So maybe
Okay, you might want to close your eyes for a
for the
little
first
bit.
time in 40 years, I might have to go back to church. Look at these. Oh no,
I know.
not for
It's
me.
so
Not for me.
funny. I hear you, and we'll get through them pretty quickly. But
So horrifying.
I don't know if you watch the whole. I
I'm
actually
not a
I'm
horror movie kind of person.
got it. Yeah. So back in the 70s, I remember all the like the horror stuff and a lot of like sort of the exploitation films. When I saw this design for a character they're calling Vada von Wolf, it just totally reminded me a lot of those 70s horror films that were very much like, like I said, they were kind of like their exploitation type things. And so scantily clad women.
No bra could contain her.
Yeah, no bra could contain her and keep the thirst for blood.
A vampire or a wolf or like a.
She's a vampire with the name Vada von Wolf for reasons.
Vada, wow.
So she has her
horrifying.
Okay, we'll go soon, but heads up, you're about to see a couple more demons. So this is their entire roster of demons that they're looking to develop.
I like the goat guy in the middle.
The goat guy.
Yeah, the other
one. Fun fact, like that goat guy, or the Baphomet, like again, a lot of these, if you look into the history of this stuff, it's a trip how like, yeah, it's true. Like we're scared of these because it was so out there and like taught to us to be this thing, right? But there were total creations that were anyway that we now have the evidence for. As sort of like essentially propaganda, and in some cases trying to frame certain groups for occultism, etc.
Right.
But fast forward, and there are like some of us are like, no, that's definitely what demons look like. So if you believe that, more power to you.
I have seen some depictions of Satan from back in the day when he was like green and just goofy. He looked like a Muppet, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And it's changed so much, but I mean, there's something just terrifying about like these weaselly faces, the bared teeth, the bug eyes, like
and the body type, right? That skinny, spindly,
It's all my cult programming coming back to like, now I got to go to therapy or something.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hey, I was on Brick Something's channel, and all these memories came flooding back. All right, let's get out of here, and let's get out of that territory, and let's go to let's take a look at some customs, man, and let's go look at a couple of things again. Legions adjacent. David Williams, who was at the last Mythic Meetup in last May, but won't be there this time, posted this a couple of days ago, and the focus really here is this guy. We were alluding to how dope the Legions community is, and so you have people creating things that can work with your Cosmic Legions figures. This is Charbot by Carver Customs, who in the past has done like things that you can use for dios and setups for your Mythic Legions figures, and went full bore and created a character that David bought and is customized.
Sweet.
Look at the paint, classic David Williams, like beautiful.
Nice.
The artistry.
Yeah, I did a video of David Williams customs. I went to his house and visited him, so I'm real familiar with that orange paint there.
Yeah,
and
on the walls.
Yeah. He's just super talented guy.
Of course, he put a little paint to his wall tour, and they have him as a pair. Yeah, man, I love the Legions customizing community. Not only in this line do we get like a dope toy line, right? But we also get people making them even better by, or adding to it, I guess, giving us the opportunity to continue to like buy, in this case, the Charbot, which I do want to highlight. Here's Carver Customs, and you can kind of see a little bit ago, they made these available. They showed them, and then they were like, hey, you can get all these custom parts. And it's just cool. It's cool to see this. I always call it the cottage, the horseman cottage industry that's sort of evolved around it, right? And it's a really special, unique community and just sort of thing that's evolved around it. So
yeah,
I'm loving it, man.
Yeah.
Real quick, Heavy Metal Toy Box, what's going on? And hey, thank you for becoming a member of the channel. I really, really appreciate that support, man. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And you're not the only one, by the way. There's a lot of folks who are commenting on the horror stuff. I agree that some of that stuff was straight out of a Hammer film. Unlike you, they weren't feeling the fear. So people were feeling some of the demons, and
So I bought the D13 demons.
Yes.
So I'm a fan of those, but those are like a little more stylized, I think.
Well, did you get and you got the colored preview ones too?
Yeah, I got the translucent green ones.
Yeah.
And then I started popping and swapping those and mixing them with my Hasbro starting lineup, like figures, to create like Japanese, Oni monsters and stuff like that. So
nice.
But yeah, I don't know.
It's
whatever
okay.
whatever
It's
whatever they're
okay.
doing with that line is obviously working.
Yeah.
Because I gotta go change my underwear now.
Let's look at another custom and wipe that taste out of your mouth. Here's Jeremy Gerard from the studio. Shared this is a while ago now, but showing this again just to highlight the community around Mythic Legions. Obviously, Jeremy's now handling marketing for the studio, but he also is a customizer and a fan, and painted up this head by Wolf King Customs that like fits perfectly for Operative. Their Manny Faces tribute figure fits perfect, right? Like that fish head and that classic Flash Gordon-esque helmet.
Seamless. It works perfectly.
Love it. Good. So I'm gonna erase those nightmares. I'm trying to do that for you, friend. But yes, Jeremy does great work. Let's shift a little bit, because obviously there's other customizers beyond the Legions, and so I love this because this is Aero Custom Figures, who often takes McFarlane figures and will customize them. In this case, turning a McFarlane figure into a Marvel character, Cyclops from the X-Men, circa 1990. I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 with that leather jacket. And then here's some more, which just next to a work in progress Colossus, Wolverine, Gambit. Were the X-Men ever pop up on your radar as a kid? Were comics a part of your world?
They were. Actually, I did like the X-Men.
Nice.
When comics used to be 75 cents.
Yeah. Is that the earliest? That's how I know where people get, because like I was sort of on the tail end of 68 cents, and then it went to 75 cents, and then eventually crossed the dollar mark.
No, yeah, I remember thinking, wow, it's $1 now. That sure is expensive. Yeah. But I do remember 75 cents. So that must have been right around when I was in high school, I'm guessing. But Spider-Man was my favorite, so I bought a bunch of those.
Nice.
And then X-Men, I think, would be my second favorite, just because of the whole storyline and
the allegory.
Yeah, of course, the band of outcasts working together for the greater good, and right.
Same here, man. And that was me. I was a mutie. I was a mutie, man, growing up, and so I totally identified with
the civil rights themes. Talking about marginalization, discrimination.
How do we deal with that? How do we challenge that? Do we, putting on a good face, trying to look more human? All of those things.
That and Star Trek, right?
Yeah. All of those things.
If you're raised on X-Men and Star Trek and you love that, you're going to turn out to be a pretty decent.
I will just say that all genre fiction, for the most part, yeah, and they were intended to be these spaces for people to explore ideas that you couldn't necessarily explore in real life sometimes, right? There were exercises in the imagination, and so there was a lot of what ifs and reflections on the way the world is, and it came out in the storytelling.
You can make a point without coming across as too preachy or whatever.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So yeah.
So I'm all about that. I love it.
Are you an English teacher then?
No. Well, I have an English credential, and I taught humanities for a while, which is like
Okay.
English and social studies combined. In my current, in the school that I've been in for years now, it's specifically history, social studies. But
nice.
It's very interdisciplinary, man. Like it always comes up.
Cool.
I often bring up nerd and literary references in trying to explain historical moments, like you did with the civil rights right now, or like Marvel.
Yeah.
Keeping on the Marvel tip, again, the idea of taking other figures that don't necessarily do Marvel figures and making Marvel characters out of them. Here's Bentwara taking SH Figure Arts and making a later era. This had to have been late 90s or early 2000s Cyclops. It's amazing, man. I love looking at custom toys and sort of where things have come. Obviously with Legions, but beyond, like people, just so much talent out there.
Look at how clean that is. I mean, look at it's
And then people sculpting pieces, adding pieces. That's all sculpted on and added.
It's like looking at a prototype.
It's art, man. Like I often say, like if some of these sculptors' work went back in time, and they'd be considered like, oh my gosh, master sculptor. But because of the medium and the themes of like, hey, let's do toys, it's not necessarily considered in the same way. That said, here's one by Artman Customs doing a Ghost Rider Wolverine.
Crazy. That's awesome.
Look at that. The flames in there. These are the sculpts he got from somebody else and then painted them up, but still artistry, collaboration, all the good stuff on a Marvel Legends figure, adding the chains. Look at that. Yeah. I saw these and I was like,
yeah.
What's up?
Awesome.
There's the character. It's funny.
I have a Ghost Rider Black Panther. Yeah. That sits on the dash of my car.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I love it. Here's another one taking a Marvel Legends and bringing out a DC character, a Blue Lantern. What is it? Saint Walker. This is D, who is actually a co-host on Monday nights over on A&R, Astonishing News and Reviews, a show that I love to watch. And he does customs. D Miller. He goes by Devon Art. Including the posing. It's just like perfect for that character.
The silhouette. Yeah.
What's that?
The silhouette.
Cool, right?
Nice. Yeah, very cool.
Yeah. With
you got that curve on the head, and then the way the body stands. Right?
Beautiful, right?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Great work.
Couple more customs. Masters of the Universe. This is Medosa Customs, just taking a Masterverse Revelation figure and plussing it. And plussing it is an understatement.
To the next level.
Figure.
Yeah, to the next level. Very cool.
Do you do much masters in like going back to the Four Horsemen's work? Did you find yourself going into classics too?
I collected all the Masters of the Universe classics.
Oh,
I cherry picked the line because I don't have any nostalgic. But like I definitely, had to get Beastman, some Merman, some of my favorites. But yeah, this guy's amazing.
Look at that head.
The guy who got me hooked on the Masters of the Universe classics was Nate Baertsch.
Of course.
So his joy and his love for it was just so pure that I couldn't resist. Yeah.
I've got one last sort of custom to look at.
Oh, wow.
So I love this. It's a build based on that Diamond Select Reed Richards, and then the this Plastic Man figure, and just kind of, I think it's perfect wrapping him around that. I've always sort of wondered, like, yeah, what would happen if Plastic Man met Mr. Fantastic?
Mr. Fantastic. Well, now
and they
you
got
know.
tangled up or something. I love it, man. As a nerd, as an old nerd, I'm so happy with where we've come with like the ability to see this kind of thing in play.
I could probably do that, like a ball of rubber bands, and then just stick the two heads on it and say, okay, here you go.
It's really great. It's so brilliant.
Because it's a form of play, right? I mean, you're juxtaposing two characters. There's a lot of humor. That's pretty
absolutely
awesome. Yeah.
Let's check out some eye candy. 2 pieces of quick eye candy, and then we can close out. This was back in the day. Gatchaman out of Japan was the beginning of what we're familiar now with, of a lot of sort of tropes, I guess. So they had a team of 5 teenagers who became the Super Ninja Team, and you had, forgive me, but this is essentially what it was. You had the sort of the leader, like, who's kind of a Boy Scout, thin, whatever dude, like, quote unquote heroic looking, stereotypically heroic.
Mm-hmm.
Then you had the sort of second, who was also like, heroic looking, but kind of like a brash, kind of like a rule breaker, and pushed the leader. Then you had the woman, the single female allowed on the team, who was there. Then you had the big guy, which you're seeing here, and then you saw a small kid. And that kind of became like the template for a lot of Japanese teams going forward. It was the same in Goleon or Voltron. They had that exact same makeup of the team. And then eventually this led to things like Super Sentai, which became Power Rangers, etc. That said, this was that big guy. You're saying the chunky guys, like a lot of that. That's what I was like sort of hinting at, that Star Zinger kind of started with that. You got the super thin guy with like certain traits, and you had the big guy, and this was the quote unquote big guy of the team. He was the owl. He was tiny here in the United States.
Is that an owl? Because it looks like a parrot.
It's an owl. He's Ryu in the Japanese version, and then he was in the localized version. He was Tiny, was his name, because the United States. Anyways, art by Crisis. What is Crisis? Chris Gelsey. I just saw this, and anytime I see anything related to Gatchaman, or G-Force is what they were called in the States, I love to highlight it. I'm a fan of art and artists, but I'm a fan of nerds who remind me of the things from my childhood. So that's all. And what else?
I like how that helmet is sort of reminiscent of the Aztec Eagle Warriors.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And that's a theme in the team. Each one is a different bird. There's like a duck, there's a swan, there's a hawk, and so on.
Right.
But yes, very much like the headdresses, right? The bird, the eagle. Let's see. One last piece of art, and then we're kind of winding down. Sorry, I know we're reaching our time, but familiar with this guy?
Nate
who will
Baertsch?
Be at the Mythic Meetup next Sunday and Saturday in Sacramento. Yes. You were saying that he was doing Motu stuff.
You guys go down there, buy a print from Nate, buy one of the 40th anniversary action figures signed and numbered by Nate, because this guy is, it's our generation's sort of Rudy Obrero.
100%.
I mean,
100%.
And I think this is kind of sort of like he did a art piece, a poster that was liked by Mark Hamill.
Oh, just once? But sure, I'm sure.
No, I mean,
I don't know.
I know he was geeking out about that.
Yeah, because Mark Hamill played Skeletor in the series and saw the art and liked it. But man, this guy's Nate's one. He's an amazing person, super like just warm guy that I met again for the first and only time in person in May.
Right.
And then a couple months ago, when Revolution came out, I was on a stream on a Geek the F Out channel with him and Ted Biaselli. Those two are buddies, and it was cool just to kind of talk to him. He told the story behind this. This eventually became a poster for Masters of the Universe Revolution. And what I like, why I'm showing this one is because I'm a big fan of behind the scenes stuff. So this was
Work in
his like
progress.
real early rough process sketch.
I think this
And
was the one that got the like from Hamill
oh,
when it was done.
When it's finished, yeah, the poster.
Yeah,
maybe.
I think it was. It might have been.
I love how rough and loose it is, and knowing what it eventually became.
He's got his green goddess in there, of course.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anyway, love it. Nate will be there. Show up next weekend. And on that note, let's talk about the That's What's Up section. And let's talk about my guest, and we'll close out. Oh, that's not right. That's not you. Who's at Null?
Null and Void?
That's so funny. No, I think it's because of the link. So the Adam Power channel, this is you, and you've been going for a while now.
Yeah.
You're pretty clear. This is 99% Mythic Legions, Cosmic Legions, and other Four Horsemen stuff. So you kind of told the story in the beginning about how you started, and so this is not necessarily something that you like. You're not one of those who are like trying to put out videos every couple of days. Tell us like how this fits into your reality.
The way it works is whenever something comes, and I'll do a review on it as quickly as I can, because I know I'm not the best reviewer, but I try to sometimes be the fastest one, the first one out there. But I think I've reviewed almost or 99.9% of everything that they put out.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a good historical context. And then if you go back into my videos, you'll see like a history of the lines, because they've given me a lot of behind the scenes access to stuff that other reviewers haven't had a chance to see. You know, like I showed the Mythic Legions and the Cosmic Legions prototypes. You know, I reviewed a figure one time on Eric Treadaway's washing machine because the lighting was really good there. So I did that at his house. So I'm not the best reviewer. I don't edit my reviews. I knock over the figures all the time and make mistakes, and it's all in there. But I've been doing
we can
it
see the
for
figures.
Years.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yep.
Because and you know, I rarely show my face because nobody cares what I look like. They want to see the cool stuff, the figures. Was that you dropping a figure?
Yep.
Because I would have died if I would have dropped this prototype. No.
That's the other thing. You mentioned that you're at Intern for a Day and then G-Con, and right around those times I love watching your channel, because then we'll see sort of behind the scenes of people, as you mentioned earlier, people seeing things for the first time, or you sort of showing the table where things are at.
Right.
So definitely go back and look at that if you just kind of want to see some real, like almost like candid behind the scenes looks at things.
No frills.
Yep.
No fancy graphics, no intro music, just sort of me just stream of consciousness.
It's great though.
Over 500 videos.
Well, like I said, you introduced me a lot to a lot of things. So like you had a lot of the older figures in here as well. And so I was just kind of looking at a lot of the old stuff, and you introduced me to some of my favorite customizers and painters. Nikki, you did a tour of Nikki's collection and did a full on interview with her. And I remember just sort of seeing her, then following her. Lope Mejorada. I'm forgetting the full name. Who does a lot of who does a lot of the Mexica stuff that I was like, blown away, and reached out to him and got some parts to like paint. Here's that behind the scenes of Eric's office.
I'm surprised that this is not a more popular video, because who doesn't want to see like his private personal office and what he has up for inspiration? But I don't think it's got that many views. I'm like, I would be totally geeking out to see this.
It's got 338 views.
338. Come on, it should have a couple thousand views at least. Nobody else has this behind the scenes content.
Man,
except for Adam Power.
I love those old Shogun
because
robots.
Look at, I mean, those are the things that he's inspired by, right? Like,
Yep, that's what he's looking
so
at
the
every
design
day.
elements, yeah, when he's at his desk sculpting up the Cosmic Legions and the Mythic Legions, he's looking
Yep,
at
yep.
Nate's art of there's Psyduck, there's Lord Power, of obviously Bosk and Star Wars stuff, and then down here you've got the rest of the Power Lords, right?
Gelfling.
You've got
Yep.
all these Glyos figures, which has been huge. There's the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that they put out. So it's kind of like getting a peek inside in Eric Treadaway's brain, right?
Yeah, it's great, man. Definitely go over to the Adam Power channel, subscribe, do all of those things. And see, this is the stuff, man. Like, I loved seeing this back in the day. I was like, man, I want that.
Frank Stone did this custom. Jason Rodriguez sculpted it up. And look at the paintwork on this, the metallics, right? The iridescent paint. Just love it. And I did this review at Super Dad 2's house. Is one of the people that I met through Four Horsemen, and we're friends. Like, we hang out. I stay at his house. He's we're buds now, and we would have never known each other if it wasn't for like hanging out on the Four Horsemen boards, sharing this. So whenever I'm in LA, we hang out and we do reviews together on occasion.
Yep.
We'll team up too. But how cool is that Tlaloc, right?
Yeah, that Tlaloc with the corazon, the heart in his hand, right? And like, whew. This whole setup too, that you got to shoot in is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's all Super Dad stuff. Yeah.
Oops. And then I can go back, and you all should, but there are like really some looks at some old Four Horsemen stuff, some custom stuff. It's great. It's like a great repository.
I was looking at I was the first person to interview Jeremy Gerard back in the day when he was just a fan. Yeah, look at this. Yeah. That's Emil's reaction when he first saw, I don't know, was this the Necronomicus wave? It might have been. And it was funny because he went straight toward the table and his jaw just dropped, and he lost it a little bit. And then everybody's like, "Hey, what about us?" Right? But look at him, like, see just the joy and the
awe, right? Just really like looking at it with him being an artist and a sculptor and all of those things, just kind of like, what am I even looking at? I loved it, man. I love these.
That's the fun thing about like Internet for a Day. I mean, you'll see what it's like.
Yeah.
But to see. So
it's great.
So a lot of historical like moments captured, because I've been doing it for a long time.
Yep.
Well, like I said, one of the advantages of being old.
Again, see, this is the stuff. I got fixated on this stuff.
Look at that. That's Israel Mejorada made me that custom.
Yep.
It's like a half Black Panther, half Jaguar.
And it's like, oh yeah, by the way, look at the stuff in the background too. But yeah. It's good stuff, man.
Yeah. He sculpted.
Seriously, I've been following the channel for a long time, and that's how I got to know more and more about Legions was through you and your channel. Eventually starting one of my own. Just because. So it's like, oh my God, yeah, all these people are doing it. Yeah, I'm gonna do it. And so thank you for joining us today. Thank you for doing the Mythic Meetup. I had a blast last year, and I'm happy to go back this weekend coming up. Sorry.
Cinco de Mayo weekend, May 4th and 5th. Yes.
So, folks, that pretty much wraps up what we're looking at for today for the Needless Ephemera We Saw. Seriously, thank you so much for everything, man. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing a little bit more about the Mythic Meetup. I didn't know most of what you shared today in terms of like that there's that character. You shared that picture, but you didn't explain. And I asked you, and you didn't respond. So thanks.
Right.
But looking forward to it and hanging out this week. Is there anything that you want to send people to either on your channel or anything that you want to let people know before?
If you go to the Cabal on Facebook and go to hashtag Mythic Meetup or hashtag ToyFusion, you'll see some of the posts that we put up. Or you could go to the ToyFusion website, toyfusion.com.
Cool.
So,
Good
and
enough.
I mean, if you're anywhere in the vicinity, come by, and really, really would enjoy having you come by and getting to meet you. So.
Yep. Come through. I'll be there too, if that matters. Yeah, it'd be cool to meet people, hang out. Anyway, that's it. So if you haven't done this, I should say this as a YouTuber, hit like on this video, subscribe. Thank you for looking at the replay and all of that. We do this every Sunday, 3:45 p.m. in the West Coast, 6:45 on the East Coast. And this Wednesday, I'll be over on the Highly Articulated channel giving some updates on AWOC. So look for that. All right. Okay, folks. Hope everyone has a great week. Thank you again, Really appreciate you coming through.
Thanks so much for everything, and thank you for being a teacher. That's like the most important thing that someone can do, I think.
Appreciate that, man. There's lots. Yes, and thank you. All right, folks. Everybody have a great week. So signing off. Bye-bye. Peace, power, all of those good things. Bye-bye. End stream, and I'm clicking it, and I'm doing it, and there's this weird like